Very cool. Right. So today we'll be looking at Bodhicharyavatara, chapter 6, verse 37. By the way, have you all got separate printed texts in front of you?
Yes, I have one.
Okay, right.
No.
Okay. So because the reason I ask it in particular, I'm having a bit of a problem, with when sharing screen. On the Zoom recording, sometimes you can see the shared screen, but not the faces. When I was recording to the cloud, to the Zoom system, then it sometimes worked, but now that's ceased to work, which means that whenever I share screen, you can only be sure of having on the recording the actual shared screen rather than seeing each other and the shared screen, which is what we can do when we're live. It's a technical glitch. One of the problems is with the enormous improvements in our technology. The improvements tend to overtake in speed the ability of people to deal with them. I'm sure there is a way of dealing with it, but I'm getting a bit of technological overwhelm sometimes. So what I'll do now anyway, I will share screen, screen, and call up our text. Now I'll read the verse first without the shared screen, and then I'll call it up and we'll read it again. यदैवं क्लेशवश्यत्वाद् घ्नन्त्यात्मानमपि प्रियं तदैषां परकायेषु परिहारः कथं भवेत्. Now I'll share. Boom. Screen one. Okay, you should have the text.
Yes, yes,
okay,
we
good.
have.
Okay. यदैवं क्लेशवश्यत्वाद् घ्नन्त्यात्मानमपि प्रियं तदैषां परकायेषु परिहारः कथं भवेत्. So yes, welcome Marco, welcome. So yadaivam is when in this way. So yada evam becomes by sandhi yadaivam. Kleshvashyatvad gnanti atmanam api priyam. So gnantyatmanam api priyam. There's so gnanti, it's from our root ahan, which is irregular in its conjugation. So it makes its third person plural. We would expect to see from the root hananti, but in fact it's gnanti. So gnanti atmanam api priyam. Gnanti atmanam, they kill themselves. And remember, of course, that even when the verb, the subject of the verb is plural, in English we would have to say, we can't say they kill himself or they kill herself. In English we'd say they kill themselves, so the selves would be in the plural. Remember that in Sanskrit, could you mute Shaktipat? Thank you. Sorry, Paula. when atma is used as the reflexive pronoun, they kill themselves, in Sanskrit it's always in the singular, even if the verb is in the plural. So gnanti, they kill, atmanam, self, in the singular. But it has a plural meaning. So they kill themselves. The api here means even. They even kill themselves. And the priyam, they even kill their beloved selves, their dear selves. They even kill their own dear selves, or their selves that are so dear to them. This is our word priya, from which we get the word prema, meaning love, priti, as the sense of joy. That's the word that in Pali is we have pema and piti. Sri Animala, in Sri Lanka, I think sometimes there's a girl's name. Do you have Prema?
Yes, Prema there, Preeti there.
Okay, so you use both Prema and Preeti as. Did you ever use them as boys' names, or is it always girls' names?
It's a girl's name, Prema.
A girl's name.
Preeti.
Okay, right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, right. So Prema meaning love and Preeti meaning kind of a joy. It's the same pre root that comes via the Germanic line. I'm not sure if it's survived in the Greek and Latin line. I'm not sure. We'll come to that in a moment. But it certainly survives that root pri in the Germanic line. It's the same word as in the. Sorry, just going to shut the door. I'm competing here with builders working upstairs. One moment. Yes, so we have it in modern English. The word friend is from that same root. But more significantly, the Old Norse goddess of love, and in particular matrimonial love, was Freya or Frigger. And in Old Norse, and I think also in Icelandic, I have to check. So the Friggersdager is Freya's Day, which of course in modern English is Friday. And that same goddess of love, Venus, we have Venerdi. So see, the day of Venus is Friday, and Vendredi in French. So the same goddess, the goddess of love, has different names, but interestingly, it's that goddess of love that gives her name to Friday, Friday Venerdi. But it's from that the ancient root pri. It's the idea of joy and love, and the joy that you feel with your friends, with those whom you love. So here it just means dear, that their own selves. They kill their own selves that are so dear to them. And why do they kill themselves? They kill themselves kleshivashyatvat. That's the ablative of cause, or the reason why they do it, what causes them to do it. That is the reason for the ablative here. So kleshavashyatvat, the kleshas are the defilements, or typically translated as the defilements. It's the same word that in Pali we have as kilesa. Let me just give you the iPad. Here we are. The Sanskrit klesha, and Pali kilesa. Typically translated as a defilement in Buddhist usage. The old meanings, the old root klish, in Sanskrit, it doesn't have the moral meaning of a defilement as it has in Buddhism. It has more the meaning of being afflicted. So if you're klishta, past participle, if you're klishta, means you are afflicted, you are suffering from distress. So I would say the more primitive meaning of klesha is something that afflicts you, not necessarily your fault. And later on, in Buddhist usage, it came to mean a defilement, because a defilement is regarded as something oppressive, like a disease or a malady, a disorder of the self. But with Buddhism, of course, it has this distinctly moral tone. So they kill themselves, kleshavashyatvat. The word vashya, the root vash, it's most often used as a noun and an adjective. Let me just call up again. So we have the root. So kleshavashyatvad, because of being under the power of the kleshas. So the word vasha means power, but specifically power that you can exert over another. Your internal strength or power is bala. Vasha is specifically power over another. And if a person is paravasha, it means he is under the power of another. He doesn't have his own self-will. He doesn't have his own or autonomy. So Vasha is very often used as the second member of a compound. If you are Klesha Vasha, you are Klesha powered. That means you are acting under the power or control or the influence of the defilements. If you might be, for example, Krodha Vasha, anger powered. In other words, you're acting under the control of anger. You are overpowered by anger. From this root vash, you can also make a future passive participle, vashya, which is more of a passive sense. So a vashya would mean subject to the control of something. In fact, the word vashya used as a noun means a slave. So somebody who is totally under the orders and control of somebody else is a klesha vashya. So it just is a vashya. So if you are so the status of being under the control of something else is vashyatva, and here in this line we see klesha vashyatva. So klesha empoweredness or klesha subjection. So vashyatva would mean the status of being subject to the power or control of something else. So these people are acting klesha vashyatvat, and the at ending, the ablative ending, being here the ablative of cause. So klesha vashyatvat gnantyatmanam priyam. Klesha vashyatvat, through being, or by reason of being subject to the control of the kleshas, the defilements, knanti, they kill, api, even, atmanam priyam, even their dear selves.
James, it's interesting that the kleshas, I forget how many of these mental afflictions there are, but they all seem to be derived from the three basic poisons of ignorance, hatred, and greed.
Oh, sure, yes. Indeed, I can't remember the full list of kleshas, but without any doubt, what you say is exactly right under Buddhist philosophy and psychology and doctrine. So if you are suffering from one of these three basic things, or typically, sadly, all three at the same time, lobha, dosa, and moha, or in Sanskrit, lobha, dvesha, and moha. Lobha, just translated as greed, but it's any kind of wanting. Dvesha, hatred or more hostility, the opposite of metta, effectively, and moha, which is pretty much the same as avidya, ignorance. But yes, it's. I mean, the kleshas will arise, so to speak, as direct results of being under the influence of the three fires, the greed, hatred, and delusion.
Yeah. On the positive side, though, I believe there's a positive mental quality for each of the kleshas. So it's rather a question of trying to develop sufficient discernment to be able to choose the more beneficial in opposition to being under the power of a defilement, corresponding defilement.
Yeah, I really ought to be able to remember what the kleshas are.
Yeah, I think they all work as the foundation to cultivate the opposite.
Yeah, interestingly enough, you've got, according to the Jnana Tiloka's Buddhist dictionary, he lists 10. However, of those 10, the first 3 are the 3 most basic ones of lobha, dosa, and moha.
Yeah.
And then there are the other. So the other 7 is mana, which is translated as conceit.
Yeah.
Then ditti or drishti in Sanskrit, ditti, speculative views, vichikicha or vichikitsa in Sanskrit, speculative doubt, and then torpor, sloth and torpor, restlessness, shamelessness, and lack of moral dread. So that's so it's interesting that I hadn't actually spotted that the trio of lobha, dosa, and moha, using the Pali words, are also they're 3 on their own, but they're the fundamental 3. But they're also listed as the first of the 3 kleshas. So here we have then yada is correlative here with tada. So yada evam, when yada evam, so yadaivam, when in this way they even kill their own dear selves, because of being under the influence of the kleshas, klesha vashyatvat. Tada, so yada and tada are correlative with each other when, as in the first line, they act under the influence of the kleshas, then in that case, or that being the case, esham parakayeshu parihara katam bhavet. Parihara, from the root ri, sorry, ri meaning to take. Can't remember was it with this group or with the Pali group I was talking just within the last few days. The hri and hara meaning taking. It was with my Pali group I was discussing this. Hara taking. Ahara, with the prefix a is the kind of the dynamic prefix or the prefix of towards. So the ahara, that which you are taking into yourself, is a word for food. So ahara, then that which one takes into oneself, is food, but also food in the sense of the influences that you take into yourself, what you watch, what you read, what you enjoy. All this is ahara. It's nourishing you one way or another for good or for ill. Srinamala, in Sinhala, do you use the word ahara meaning food?
Yes, ahara means food.
Okay, jolly good. So ahara, so you use it in modern Sinhala to mean food.
Yes.
Yes, in Thai as well. They pronounce it ahan in Thai, but
So
just that
ahara.
that's just so ahara in Sinhala. Ahan it's pronounced in Thai. That's just the influence of the Thai for phonetics. But it's that which you take into yourself. Here we've got parihara, so taking around. And taking around means care. It's like surrounding something with protection. In one of our Pali chants, the Sabbisata Attanam Pariharantu Sukhi Attanam Pariharantu. May they take care, may they keep themselves happy. So there is the parihara, the taking around or surrounding somebody, that is to say with protection, is a word meaning care. How about translate? It's just care. So parakayeshu parihara katam bhavet. Katam, how, bhavet, which is the optative form, meaning how could there be? Parihara, care, parakayeshu, for the bodies of others. This is another case where we have the para, meaning another. So parakaya, the bodies of other people. Paravasha, other power, meaning under the power of another. So since these people, because of being under the power of the kleshas, klesha vashyatvat, even kill their own dear selves, if they're so much under the power of the kleshas that they kill their own selves, then how could they possibly have the proper care for other people? Here we've got the locative plural. This is just with regard to, so care for other people. For example, if you feel anger towards someone, that the someone towards whom the anger is felt is in the locative. So here the locative plural, parihara parakayeshu, care for the bodies of others. And isham, of them. So here it's the use of a genitive instead of the verb to have. So how could they have care? In Sanskrit would be how could care be of them? In other words, how could they have care? So how for them or of them, bhavet, could there be parihara care parakayeshu for the bodies of others? So are there any doubts or queries about this verse?
James, can I ask you about the root Hari? One of the names of God in Hinduism is Hari.
Hari.
Hari, does it mean that he is the protector?
No, I'm not sure that it does, actually. Let me just give you the iPad. The root is hri,
Yes.
meaning to take. It's very likely, in fact, that is a softened form of the root bhri, meaning to carry. You find quite a lot of these pairs of roots in Vedic, where you get the older form of the root and then a derived later form of the root, sometimes in a more complex form or a heavier form, sometimes in a simpler form. So this bhre is probably the older form of the root, and it's from the same root from which we get the Latin ferre, meaning to bear or to carry. Phoro in Greek, meaning to carry. And go for and fer in Greek. Euphoria, you see, you're carrying yourself happily. And paraphernalia, things that you carry around with you. But it's the same root that's come into English, for example, as the verb to bear and a burden. It's that same root. So that the hri is likely to be a softened form of that root. And it makes the verb harati. And we've just seen in this verse pariharanti. It makes the verbal noun hara. So back to Madeleine's question, does the name of the god Hari come from that root? I suspect not. So I have to say I don't actually know. I'm just going to go to my first port of call here, which is Monier Williams. Oh, okay. And let me just okay. It seems to be from two separate roots, Madeleine, according to
Yes.
Monier Williams. One is the hari as a suffix, meaning bearing or carrying something. Okay, that's distinctly from our root hri, meaning to take or to carry. And then Monier Williams posits a possible lost root hri, meaning being yellow or green, and with a range of colors is associated with the word hari, but unrelated to the homonymous hari, meaning taking.
What about chryso in Greek, as in gold?
Oh, yes. That's an interesting one, Paula. I hadn't thought of that. that could be quite possible.
And chrysanthemum. And
that's right. The chrysanthemum would mean the golden flower, isn't it? Yes. Nice one. I'll check that up at some stage. But I think it looks as if it could be Paula, but I'll check. I won't be able to do it now, but I'll check. But by next time, I'll go to the workbooks of reference. So then, from the colours, then we also get the idea of a ray of light. Lots of things, including a goose and a frog, and then one of the names of Indra. So I think we'd need a little bit more learning, which
no,
is
but this is the one. This is the one that Madeline is talking about. A noun of Vishnu, Krishna.
That's right. Yes, it is. It is that same one. So one of the names of Indra, and then by extension Vishnu, Krishna.
James, it's funny how the mind works. I've just suddenly had a memory of when I was working in Soho Square in London at a software house. A colleague came back one lunchtime looking a bit bamboozled because he went out for a lunchtime walk in the rain, and his umbrella was snatched by what appeared to be a member of the local Hare Krishna sect. And this chap walked off with my colleague's umbrellas and shouted back something along the lines, "All property is theft."
Rather shocked to have a kind of thieving communist style Hare Krishna devotee. Yeah, I can well understand how your unfortunate colleague came in looking mighty bewildered and confused. To have one's umbrella snatched is bad enough, though understandable, I suppose. But to have it snatched by somebody who is advocating both an extreme form of communism and at the same time is a devotee of Hare Krishna is puzzling indeed. I forget which English judge it was, had a little verse about that. You know, it raineth both upon the just and on the unjust. And the verse went, it raineth both upon the just and on the unjust fella, but it raineth more upon the just, because the unjust still the just's umbrella. So that your story reminded me of that, Chris.
James, I just read. Oh, sorry. I just read an explanation of the name of Vishnu Krishna.
Oh, please let us have it.
To take away or remove evil or sin. So the root Hri, the explanation is to take away or remove evil or sin. That's a good explanation.
Actually, yes, yeah, the taker away of evil.
Yeah, it's here on the dictionary.
So
before
of course, yes.
List. Yeah, before the list.
Of course,
yes.
Yeah. In this sense, thought by some to be derived from Hri, to take away or remove evil sin. Okay, yes, I didn't see that bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it could be a combination of both roots. You know, sometimes things get confused in the popular mind. He doesn't definitively say there's a thought by some to be derived from. But you know, as we know, whether it is an academically and historically accurate derivation doesn't quite matter so much, because the fact that many speakers of the language thought that it was so, then thus makes it part of the language. So it is a valid sphere of knowledge for us, that even though we don't know whether it is by historical linguistics a correct derivation. Nevertheless, it is valid for us to know it. So yes, so there we are.
They say, James, that for instance, the same Hari can be used for Shiva or Yama, and in this case, it's about taking their lives away because they represent the death. Shiva is the god of termination.
Of course, yes, that's right. Yeah. So these gods, they can be interpreted in their names, and their acts can be interpreted in various different ways. So the Hari, the destroyer of life, or possibly the taker away of sin. As we have, Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi, the Lamb of God who takest away the sins of the world. Well, this is an interesting point you've raised, Madeline. Sorry, Paola. Yes, we're back to you.
Just a question. So, what is the common understanding of Hara? Not Hari, but Hara, the one with an A at the end.
So we've got that's just the verbal noun from Hri, meaning to take. So as we've got the verbal noun Hara, as in Ahara, Parihara. We've also got Hara, as normally you'd find it as the second part of a compound, either wearing or taking, removing or destroying. For example, here, so Balahara, power taking, that which destroys your power. So Jivahara would mean something that takes away life, destroys life. But this is just a noun form, a noun from the root Hri, meaning to take. So Hari, as we see from Monu Williams, is possibly derived from Hara, but the word Hari is possibly derived from the root Hri, whereas Hara is a noun, or rather, it's an adjective. It's used as the second member of a compound. So Balahara, power taking, Shaktihara, again, something like power taking. Okay, here we are again. Look, Hara as a noun, the Caesar, the destroyer, a name of Shiva. And a number of other things as well, as we so often find in Sanskrit. So when we get to the details of the Hindu gods, I do confess that I'm very much out of my depth. So don't take any of that from me.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paola. So, so then the second line, katam bhavet. So when they do all these things, when in the first line, they even kill their own dear selves. Tada, then, katam bhavet, how could there be esham, of them, parihara, care, parakayeshu, for the bodies of others. So I'll read it through once more, and then we could possibly have some recitations of it. Yadaivam kleshavashyatvad gnantyatmanamapi priyam tadaisham parakayeshu parihara katham bhavet. So, Chris, would you like to give us a recitation of this verse?
I'll give it a go, Jim. Yadai Wang Glacial Wash Yatwad Ganant Yatmanam Api Priyam Tadaisang Parakayeshu Pariharaha Katang Bavet.
Okay, pretty good. But just be careful of the longs and the short. You say Atmanamapi, Atmanamapi.
Atmanam Api Prinam. Atmanam. Atmanam Api Prinam.
No, Priyam.
Oh, I'm sorry, Priyam.
Priyam, yes, because Priyam would be the feminine form. Atmanamapi Priyam.
Priyam.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chris. Round to you, Barry.
Okay. Yadevam Klesha Vashyatvad Gnanti Atmanam Api Priyam Tadesham Parakayeshu Parihara Katam Bhavet.
Okay, pretty nice, but you've been slipping into an almost slightly Hindi pronunciation of it. I'll tell you why. So, this I, there's two very distinct sounds in Sanskrit. One is A, and the other is I. They tend to be somewhat blurred in Hindi, A and A. In classical Sanskrit, and certainly when you hear you hear Brahmins chanting in Sanskrit, this diphthong I is always pronounced as an I sound, like the two I, rather than as the A. So it's Yadaivam and Tadaisham. You would certainly be understood saying it like that, but for the pure classical pronunciation, you'd want to make it the distinct diphthong. So if you could just say Yadaivam.
Yadaivam.
Exactly so. That's exactly how the Brahmins would say it. And this is, by the way, remember from the Sandhi, where you get a word ending in an a, or long or short, a or a, and the next word begins with a, then that merges into the diphthong form I. And bear in mind remember also that where a word ends in a long or short a or a, and the next word begins in e, they merge into an a sound, which is just written as our vowel e, a. But it's then the a plus a that makes the I, which is a phenomenon we see at tada esham, tadaisham, and yada evam, yadaivam. Okay, thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
We're round to you, Madeleine.
Yes. Yadaivam klesha vashyatvad gnantyatmanam api priyam tadaisham parakayeshu pariharaha katam bhavet.
Okay, very nice.
Thank you.
But for one very small detail, your pronunciation of pariharaha there would have been correct if it had been at the end of a line. You gave that the shadow, pariharaha, when it's immediately followed by another word, you don't have the shadow vowels, pariharakatam.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, thank you then, Madeleine.
Thank you.
Shri Animala, round to you. Let me just enlarge.
Yadaivam
Sorry, I've accidentally put up a wrong screen. There we are.
Yadaivam klesha vasyatvat ganantyatma namapi priyam tadaisham
parakayeshu. I think Srinamala's sister may have frozen. Okay, we'll just wait for Srinamala's system to unfreeze, and then we'll come back to her. Are you with us, Marco?
Yada ivam klesha vashyatvad aganantyatmanam api priyam tada isham parakayeshu parihara katam bhavit.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marco. Thank you. So I think Srinamala may be having a communications problem there, so we'll just hope that she can rejoin us. So before we move on to the next verse, were there any doubts or queries? Yes, Madeline,
yes, please. Please, I'm curious about a grammar rule about the word parihara that you mentioned to me.
Mm-hmm.
You were right in mentioning this to me, but I'm curious to know when sometimes the visarga is removed before a consonant,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you correct me because I try to understand the rule, the grammar rule. K is a unvoiced consonant, so I would guess that because it's an unvoiced consonant, I would say pariharakatam. Is the way of my own logic is right or wrong? I don't know.
You talked about the visarga, that's
Yes.
the subdot being removed. No, it's not removed. It's there. So
yeah, but I mean, I know that in the scriptures for the meter, they are allowed to do whatever they want for the meter. I cannot comment on that, but I'm talking about like me, a student in Sanskrit. If I have to use these two words together, should I keep the visarga or remove it?
Okay, in pronunciation.
In this
Yes.
case, no, both. I mean, especially in writing, because what we do is especially in writing.
Okay, the answer is you've got this word in its raw form standing on its own, pariharaha, we'd say, pariharaha.
Yes.
And if we're pronouncing the word in isolation or at the end of a word group, and in particular at the end of a verse, then pariharaha. Now, here, it is followed immediately by a k.
Yes.
So the visarga remains in place as it is, unchanged.
Yes.
The same would apply if the following consonant had been a p, and also the same would apply if it had been one of the sibilants, s or a sh or a sh. So where it's followed by a k or a p or a sibilant, it remains in place.
Oh, yes.
It stays there unchanged, and it is pronounced.
Oh, yes.
But you just don't pronounce the shadow vowel. So here it's parihara katam.
Yes.
Parihara katam.
Yeah. Now I understand.
Incidentally, under the rules of the pronunciation in Vedic, the visarga before a k becomes almost like a sound, almost like the Greek, the light sound, not a rough sound, but so parihara katam.
Yes, yes.
That's how you sometimes hear it being pronounced when, for example, you hear Brahmins chanting specifically the Rig Veda. That's how it would come out. In classical Sanskrit, it's just pronounced like an ordinary unvoiced H, parihara katam.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. It's clear to me now.
Is that clear now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fact, the rules for the visarga are fairly complex, but you might say the simplest part of it is if the following consonant is pekka or sibilant, it remains unchanged.
Yes, thank you.
Further to that, James, could you just summarize when it is dropped and when it changes to O?
Okay. I can summarize that for you. So the word ending in ah, if it's followed by a k, p, s, sh, also in theory sh, but very few words begin with a sh. Or when it's followed by nothing, like at the end of a line, at the end of a word group, then it's just it stays as it is. So it stays unchanged. The stays as it is in isolation, which is particularly at the end of a sentence or the end of a line of verse, or before any of these consonants. If it is followed by a voiced consonant, that is the g, j, d, l, and any voiced consonant, it changes to, oops, my pen again. It changes to o.
Yeah.
So on its own, the word Buddha, the Buddha, but the Buddha says Buddho vadati, because it's followed by a voiced consonant there, Buddho vadati. If it is followed by a t or a t, it changes to a s. So the Buddha there, Buddha Tatra, will become Buddhastatra. If the next word begins with an then it's simply the Buddha here would be Buddhatra. That becomes Buddhotra. So the changes to an O, and the A is dropped. The Buddha, so Buddha avadat, the Buddha said. Buddha avadat becomes Buddho vadat. If it's followed by any other vowel apart from a short then what happens is that drops.
Okay.
So the Buddha and Ananda would be, without sandhi, Buddha Ananda cha. So the Buddha and then followed by Ananda would be Buddha Ananda, just the Visarga then drops. It's somewhat difficult to take all of this in at one go in brief.
It's very clear, actually, what you said. I mean, that does help a lot. That is very clear.
Right. So in my regular group email, I'll just give you a little note to where this is dealt with in Macdonell's grammar.
It's the Sandy is something of a nightmare to me. If it is to the people, I mean, the same sort of, as I've said before, the same sort of phenomenon in Welsh, but it's much. I thought that was difficult, but it's much simpler in Welsh and much more difficult in Sanskrit to get the hang of this.
It is rather more difficult in Sanskrit, and most languages do have fairly complicated Sandhi rules, but without reflecting them in writing. I mean, in English we've got fairly complex Sandhi rules, but they are mostly not reflected in writing. But the point in Sanskrit, they're highly formalized and reflected in writing, so you've got to memorize them as rules.
Yeah. But what you've explained there is very, very clear. Thank you.
Okay, right.
Can I just clarify? I'm sorry, this is elementary, but what's the difference between Sandhi and Visarga?
Sandhi is a general term meaning putting
for the connection, for the liaison.
The liaison, and the two words Sanskrit Sandhi and Greek synthesis, putting together, they are etymologically the same word, Sandhi, and in classical Greek, synte, meaning to put together. Sandhi, synthesis, same word. So that's the general rules of what happens to the beginnings and ends of words when they join. The visarga just specifically means this puff of breath. It's the one that we write with the sub-dotted H. In fact, the word visarga itself means the releasing, the expulsion, as it's a release of breath. Visarga, from the root srij, meaning to release or to let go. So the visarga is the specific sound that we write as the sub-dotted H. So is that
and the
clear?
general rule is that the shadow vowel before gets repeated at the end of a sentence. That is always true.
Exactly so, yes, it is. So if it's at the end of a sentence or at the end of a verse of poetry, then it comes out with a shadow vowel, the buddhaha, naraha, anandaha. And the shadow vowel reflects the vowel before it. So, for example, the word muni, meaning a sage, you'd say with the shadow vowel munihi. And a guru would be guruhu, that shadow vowel, the same vowel as the one before the H sound. So is that clear then?
Yes,
Paola?
thank you very much.
Okay,
yes, thank
right.
you very much.
Right. Where are we? Oops. Oh, I think I've accidentally deleted something. Varihara. Actually leaning on my keyboard a few minutes ago. There we are.
Does the I always change to a Y before the long A?
Okay, gnanti atmanam, gnanti atmanam. The answer is yes, it does. And with one exception, if the following word itself begins with an E or an E long or short, I, written as an I, then it just becomes it merges into a long E. So for example, they kill Indra, gnanti Indram, that would become gnantindram. So it merges into a long E sound if the following word begins with either a short or a long E or E. With any other vowel, it alters to a Y.
Right, thank you. Have you got any advice about how to deal with these Sandhi rules? Because there are so many of them and they're so complicated. Is it just a question of, I mean, it seems impossible just to learn them all in isolation. Is it just a question of picking them up as we go along?
Difficult to know what advice to give here. I mean, I don't know whether it will encourage or discourage you to know that in my early phase of learning Sanskrit, I found Sandhi. I almost feel embarrassed to say it, but I found it the most discouraging and boring and difficult part of it. I do not recall that there ever was a stage when I decided I'm going to sit down and master all this step by step by step. So I just kind of let it, I absorbed it by assimilation gradually. You will find that, of course, the more the more commonly encountered rules you assimilate because you're seeing them more and more. You do have, I think, the Monier Williams Sanskrit grammar for students.
No, I don't have that. I've got the. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes.
I was going to say that I would.
Yes, I do. Yes.
I was shifting into a state of shock that one of my students, even my Pali students, I say you must equip yourselves with a copy of the Sorry, did I say Many Williams? I meant Macdonell's.
That's what confused me. I
Okay,
realized you made that out. Yes.
my mistake then. There is also a Sanskrit grammar written by Moni Williams that is much longer and more complex. In reality, in practical terms, for Sanskrit, all you'll ever need is a Sanskrit grammar for students by Arthur Macdonell.
Which actually, you said that it's something we should all have because it's so clear. I actually find it quite difficult and confusing in places. I don't know if other people have tried using it, but it's certainly not.
In my experience, I enjoyed looking up Macdonald dictionary online. It was very, very clear. And then I lost the connection, and the online text is no more available. I tried so many times.
Is that right?
But yes, even yourself, James, you
said,
yeah, even yourself, you said that it's not accessible even to you. But when
I do remember now, yes.
Yes, and when I look up in the text, the PDF, it's very hard. It's very hard to find, especially the table of contents, or to find the number, and it's very complicated. And the PDF, the letters are not clear. They are blurring, you know.
So is that in the dictionary or the grammar?
I mean, no, I mean, I'm talking about the grammar.
The grammar, okay, yes.
I'm talking about the grammar. The online was a treasure for me. Every time I have a question, I look it up online. It was very clear. And you can trace, if you want such and such a rule, you have a table of contents and you can put your finger on it immediately.
Indeed.
But with the PDF, it's very complicated. Sometimes I make an effort to try to understand, but the characters are not clear. But I think I will have to buy it from Amazon. I try not to get books because they take space and all that. I got used to reading everything online.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
but
I certainly take your point about books taking up space and so on. But there's one thing I would mention: the PDF of the of Macdonell's Sanskrit grammar seems to be done
yeah,
from the original printed text,
yes,
and it comes out a little bit blurred.
yes,
There is, and I guess it. And sometimes reprinted books are simply like
yes,
copies of the old text, and the text is blurred. However, the reprint, the Sanskrit Grammar for Students, printed by Print World, which is basically reprinted in India. This is this
yes.
one here,
Mhm.
available on Amazon very
Yes,
cheaply. But the
yes,
joy of this book, although it's a reprint,
yes,
the printing is so clear. It's almost, you could say, even clearer than the original Oxford
yes.
University
Okay,
Press one.
yes,
So
yeah,
I do recommend
yes,
that
yeah. I will.
get
I
this
think I
book.
will buy it.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yes,
take up too much space. You can see how small it is
yeah,
in my
yeah,
hands.
yes,
Mm.
yes. You're right. Thank
Yeah,
you. Yes,
it is worth it.
It's small, but the information is extremely dense in there, James.
Um,
Certainly, I find that. I mean, it may be just that you're so you're so used to Sanskrit now and so immersed in it that. But I actually find that quite a difficult book to use, unfortunately.
oh, one thing you could use there,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's a term of psychiatry for it. I mean, you'll be able to advise me on it. If you think this is difficult, the Macdonell, this is the old edition and a new edition of the same book. If you think that's difficult, delve into Moni Williams' Sanskrit grammar.
Hmm.
And then after you've tried to grapple with that, you'll just be delighted by the simplicity by contrast. I'm sure it's sort of I'm sure there's a psychiatric term. If you find something difficult, go and do something even worse, then come back to what you were doing to start with, and you'll find a welcome relief.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. But I'd be interested to know if other people find this an easy book to read,
Oh,
if other people have it, if other members of this little group.
uh, I've got a copy of Molly Williams's book.
MacDonnell, I'm talking.
Yeah, this is not MacDonnell, but Molly Williams's. And what James has just said, I could absolutely testify to. Molly Williams's book is huge. It's very heavy. It's currently up in the attic, and I've got no intent.
And from your tone, Chris, I suspect it might remain up in the attic for quite a while.
I struggled with it for 10 years. This is way before I came to your classes, James. And as you say, it's pretty formidable.
Yeah.
It's not the sort of book you want to drop on your foot either.
It is quite a tome. There is also the Macdonnell's Vedic grammar, and again, that is a mighty complex thing. But for the kind of Sanskrit we're studying, which is classical Sanskrit and the Sanskrit used in Buddhist literature and the Bhagavad Gita and all the later, the classical literature, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and so on. All you'll need for that is the Macdonnell Sanskrit grammar. You
Yes.
won't need to go back into the Vedic.
Yes.
But is there an easy solution? Maybe there just isn't, Barry.
No, I don't think there is required. I mean, when I first started, with this group, it was just for the intention of learning a little bit about the meaning of the words. I find that really interesting, the way that you analyze the words. But I got so interested that I decided I was going to try to learn it, and so I've been following the your lessons on what is he called? Eganez.
Eganus, yes, Thomas Eganus. Yeah.
Which is clear. I mean, it's very slow going, but it's very clear. And I just think I've got to persist. Actually, you know, it's I don't really expect this to be easy, but I would be interested to know if other people find that MacDonnell book easy as you said it should be.
I don't have any comment for you, Barry. I don't own it. It's too a bridge too far for me.
Okay.
I've got it on my Amazon wish list, Barry, but I haven't got round to.
Well, it's easy to get, you know. I mean, and as James says, it's not particularly expensive. I was just expecting it to be much simpler, and it isn't. But I guess Sanskrit isn't simple, is it? But there we are.
It just seems to be the case, though, that certain individuals have an extraordinary aptitude for language and language learning, and obviously James falls into that category.
Yeah, well, I also
Obviously,
have learned a lot of languages, and this is perhaps the most difficult I've come across. But then I'm a lot older, you know, I'm 77 now, and the other languages I've learned from when I was a teenager. So I guess it's age, James.
Well, you speaking as a 77-year-old, me as an 81-year-old, I suppose. Yeah, there is. I mean, mind you, I started being a complete language geek at the age of 6.
Oh,
and so I always have been ever since then. But equally, I was a dunce at maths, and I find modern technology I can get things slowly as and when I need to, but it's certainly not something that I pick up easily. So just languages, this love of language is something I was born with, and I really love complex grammars.
well, so do I actually.
I feel sure, Barry, that there must have been many occasions in your professional life as a psychiatrist when you've just had, when you may have had to tell people there is no easy way out. You face it. You face life, not run away from it.
Absolutely, James.
Yes, it may be the same with Sanskrit grammar.
Okay.
But hopefully you found the Eganus lessons easy enough to.
Oh yeah, they're really good.
Yeah,
enjoying doing this.
I forget how far I've got with my teaching videos on Eganus. Have you found the teaching videos useful?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
right.
I've only got to lesson 11 so far because there's so many exercises, and if you don't do the exercises, you don't assimilate what's going on.
Indeed, that's right. It is my intention. I'll do my best. I've got several things I need to try and complete before we restart in September. So even though I'm not currently doing Zoom classes on Eganus, I do intend to complete my Zoom lessons for the whole of Eganus, Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Oh, excellent! Thank you.
James, I want to add something. I'm sure you know about it. That the second volume of Agnes has Bhagavad Gita verses, and I intend to start and read because they write the vocabulary of each verse, and you have exercises. And if you intend for September, I just mentioned that there are these Bhagavad Gita verses in Volume 2. You know that.
I do indeed. In fact,
yeah.
you took the very words out of my mouth because I was about to say that, as you just said, that Volume 1 is pretty much pure grammar and exercises. Volume 2, much of the material does consist of verses from the Bhagavad Gita with analysis. So a lot of the work that otherwise I would have to do in producing teaching videos the work I've already done. So, for example, when a particular verse is presented in a given lesson in Eginus Volume 2, I shall simply refer to the students
Yes.
to my analysis of that verse that I've already done. So I'll be doing that. Also, of course, going through specifically the grammar and the exercises. But as I say, it will be probably a quicker and easier exercise for me to produce the teaching videos for Volume 2.
Yeah.
And also more fun as well, because rather than just these exercise sentences, we're now dealing with real text. But anyway, I'm encouraged to hear, especially from you, Barry, that it has been of some use and value.
It's been a lot of value, yes.
Okay, right. So
also enjoyable.
You have encouraged me in the task of taking up Eginus again and completing the teaching videos lesson by lesson on it.
Oh, good.
James, do you think it could be also possible to have an integration of your classes with the study of the Gita and with the study of the book text, Eugenes? And I mean, going along together, maybe not necessarily to have a class open to all of us, but in some way with reference. Or do you think it's better to have them separated?
That's a very interesting point that you've raised, Marco. For example, in Pali, in the Pali classes, we alternate between studying of Pali texts. We've been doing the Dhammapada. We're currently going through the Pali chants in the Samatha chanting book. And it's called the Samatha chanting book, but most of the chants are common throughout the Theravada world, and indeed many of the much of the material that's there will be familiar, for example, to anyone brought up in Sri Lanka as Shriya Nimala, for example. So a lot of the material in our Samatha chant book is known to her. So my point is that I'm currently alternating that with a Pali reader and grammar written by an Englishman and a Sri Lankan, actually, Ger and Karunatilaka. So if there is, I mean, this is all open to discussion. I'll respond to demand. In fact, we're coming to the end of the term soon, so I shall invite you all to consider whether we should alternate textual study with grammar study. So thank you, Marco, for raising that. I think it's a very valid point.
Another possibility could be also to do the Udana Varga text, which is more or less the Dhammapada in Sanskrit. So maybe it would be easier for you. I don't know how many of us are in both classes, but it would be easier to you when you are on some parts of the Dhammapada to see also the equivalent verses, shlokas in the Udana Varga.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, Marco. I hadn't thought of that. I do actually have an edition here at home, which contains the Dhammapada in the pure Pali text. It also contains the Udana Varga, which is essentially a translation from Pali into Sanskrit, plus some other texts in other Prakrits, Magadhi text, is it? But that's a very good point, Marco. Yeah.
It's an essential book for all of us practitioners, Dharma practitioners. So it's a beautiful reading.
It is. In fact, the Pali of the Dhammapada is actually particularly beautiful Pali. and of all the Pali texts that I've taught, I've most enjoyed teaching the Dhammapada. So you've given me some good food for thought here, to use that text, and also to have some formal grammar teaching, possibly based on Eginus, running in parallel. Much food for thought, and I thank you all for the contributions. So what I'll do now is I'll put this out for all of you to give your contributions on how we could do it. I can't remember whether I've mentioned it to you yet. I may have. That I'm about to go away on retreat for 3 weeks. So I'll be away as from this coming Sunday, which I think is the 14th, for 3 weeks until the first Sunday in July, which is the 5th or so, 4th or 5th. But then we'll be having the Sanskrit class the week following that, which will then, I imagine, might be the last of the term, is it? So between now and reconvening in September, we'll have at least one more lesson anyway. And in the meantime, we can start sharing ideas, make your contributions. I'll invite you specifically to make the contributions as to what we will be doing as from next term. And my main thing, I want to respond to what people want, what helps you most. So your feedback will be very important.
James, are you by any chance taking a class in the summer school this year?
I'm not. No. Okay. I think Marco might be at the summer school. Okay then. So oops, a little bit late. I've got to shoot off my next meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Thank you,
James.
and I'll see you after I'm back, and it'll be probably the second Saturday in July, I think it is, but I'll confirm it all in writing anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Retreat.
Goodbye then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, James.
Okay, thank you, Paula.